before you leave, we have a custom here in New Orleans. Who that? Who that? Who that think you gonna beat them Saints? Who that? Who that? Who that think you gonna beat them Saints? Who that? Who that? Who that think you gonna beat them Saints? Who that? Who that? Who that think you gonna beat them Saints? Yeah!
Jensen, I don't want to say that Steven was disrespecting you. I would never. But every time you brought it, who's going to be the Saints, he'd go, Bears.
As a Packers fan, I think he was struggling with whether or not to press on.
You should be happy. The Bears lost.
I think that's true.
This is my first time in New Orleans, and I gotta say I love the city, but the city hates me. It killed my phone. I'm not a word of a lie. I started walking, and I was like, oh, new buddy. And I started walking to where he is, and I'm GPS tracking it, and then I looked down at my phone. I'm on Bourbon Street, headphones in, and kind of blasting through. Yeah, I saw a lot more of it than I expected, because my phone went out. It was like searching, and I was like, all right, you know, maybe I'm in a hiccup spot or whatever. Keep going, and then no service. And I'm seeing hotels to the left and right. I'm sure I can go in and use Wi-Fi. I'm like, it'll reset, so I turn it off, turn it back on, searching, no service. Airplane mode off, back on, turn it off, back on. Finally, I see a bar that has like free Wi-Fi and like a college backpacker. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm going there. I just probably paid $5 for Wi-Fi something. So I go in and turn it on. My buddy had already left and gone back to his hotel. I was like, oh, we didn't hear from you guys. I was like, well, guys, my phone's been dead for an hour. But I got to remember what it was like to walk around the city before little phone gadgets existed. So I was able to put my headphones on and kind of see a lot more of the city than I probably would have. So I'm still a fan of New Orleans.
And how long were you at that bar by yourself?
Well, I was quickly joined. There were some Supernatural fans. I actually had somebody say to me, oh, you're dressed up like Sam Winchester Supernatural. Oh no, I mean, I was like, no, I am the guy. She goes, oh, all right, well, do you like dress like him too? I'm wearing a shirt and a jacket, it's cold outside. She's like, yeah, we all wear that stuff on the show. She was totally unimpressed. And as soon as she got at first she was like, cool costume.
Oh, that's a really cool Halloween costume. Oh, it's you?
She's like, who dresses up as himself? I was like, I'm gonna go with the next band. Yeah, so I totally got mad dogged. Decatur and something else. Anyways, like I said, still love the city. Woke up this morning, my phone was still dead, still broken, still no service. So,
and it's been the greatest 24 hours of your life.
Hey, nothing I can do. So we talked to Phil Sagrisha, who does all the gag reels. And apparently there's going to be a whole spliced together scene of Alexander's sort of initiation, his hazing. And I think we've been begging for years for a super long gag reel because there are hours and hours of gags. So hopefully they,
I don't know if I'd call it hazing so much as a welcome package.
All right, we're good to go. Really? Yeah, Sheriff gave her the old Alabama slammer. I'm pretty sure she's in love.
The Alabama slammer? We haven't done that in years. Good luck.
All right, we're good to go.
Really?
Yeah. The sheriff gave her the old Arabian goggles.
This is right about the time where Alex is like, wait, how many episodes do I have to do this year?
Let's just say that it's the first time that they've actually had to wrap Jared and myself for the day just in order to get another person's coverage. And it was simply in an effort to get us off the set.
because the other person could not perform with us present.
And hopefully Alex starts coming to visit you guys here. He's gonna have some good stories, because also, this is, I think, his first series regular gig. He's been on a lot of the shows in CW he's worked, but he was so mortified because all of his takes, we'd make him laugh, and he's like, they're gonna see this, I'm never gonna work again. And we're like, don't worry, all of your bosses know that we're assholes. So, yeah, let's hear for assholes.
So, if knowing what you know now about the show, you couldn't have auditioned for any one of the lead roles, but had to audition for...
You mean Sam or Dean?
Or Cass, or Crowley.
Well, there's the lead roles.
Lead supporting. Right. I think those come in boxer briefs too.
But you had to audition for one of the supernatural creatures. What creature would you have wanted to audition for, and what twist would you have put on it to try to get the role?
I'll say this. Misha has the best job in show business. Some people still think he's a lead, and he's worked like 3 days this year. So,
well, let's take last episode, for example. I mean, did you see the presence that he had in that episode? He woke up in a black robe. That was it.
that was actually just like his Nest Cam footage from his house. He sleeps in his house.
That's his bedroom.
And they visual effected away all the toys. I mean, like Ninja Turtles, Transformers.
It's good stories. Yeah. Right.
But yeah, so he didn't even come to work for that. But we'll see, we'll be like, hey dude, what'd you do this weekend? He's like, which weekend? I haven't seen you guys in 6 weeks. I'm like, oh, well, I guess I don't care then. Like, come back to you. So I'd have to say Cass. And I would play him as a not weirdo. Just a little twist.
I think she said what creature, but that actually works. Yeah, that works. What creature? I think I would like to play.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Right? Right?
One of the toys.
What's that?
I stumped you?
Yes.
No, I mean, you know, I'm trying to think. I'm like, vampire. Oh, no, been that. I've, you know, like, I think I've, a demon. No, been that. So, I don't know. A Wendigo. Because I'd be taller than this guy.
I'd be somebody. Sam, there's a Wendigo. I don't know, dude. That's a really short Wendigo.
And there's your twist. That's
Or, thank you. I was saying, or we can play a shapeshifter and then just make sure we're in one scene every episode. Then we shapeshift into somebody else and we still get paid for the episode. They'll only have to work one episode. We've shifted the shapes and then another shapeshift.
Stop talking. Abort.
And then we're like, oh, I shifted myself.
Oh, I just shift myself again.
So Excuse me, shapeshifter, but I think you can shift yourself.
I'm so sorry, you deserve better than this.
No, we don't.
How's that for Stockholm Syndrome? No, we don't. Give us some more. I'm no rocket Scientologist, but...
In season 10, the finale, what was your state of mind when you were destroying the hotel room? Do you have to think something really angry?
No, they said, hey, guess what? You get to destroy things today. You know how cathartic that is for anything that's going on in my life? It's awesome. Yeah, what about, way back when, no. Oh, I thought, and this was a hard one to do. I was a little conflicted about it, but when I got into it, it was awesome when I took the crowbar to the back of the Impala. I know, I read that, I was like, no. And then, you know, I don't know, there's something about just mentally things in your bare hands. And so, yeah, when the crazy part about the hotel room was we did 2 takes, and I had to match what I did in the first take for continuity purposes. And I believe at one point I was walking towards the camera and I threw something that hit. Oh, this is what it was. For scheduling purposes, they had to film the aftermath of that hotel room being messed up when somebody shows up to see it like that. They had to shoot that first, which means now I had to match what the set design people created for the the messed up hotel room. So we kind of mapped it out. We were like, okay, first I got to do this one, and then I got to go over here, and I got to destroy the TV, and then I got to do this, and I got to do that. Well, if you go back and look, they had for some reason just taken the picture frame on the wall and shifted it like this. Not kidding. From me to Norton, and I just threw something behind me, and it hit the wall, and the picture frame goes. And the whole crew was like, oh!
I think
he is the one.
I think it would have been, that's amazing. However, it would have been so much better to see you like, and kicking over desks.
And then, yes, that would have been more comical, but yes, that was obviously I had to ramp up and get angry, and I think I did a few jumping jacks to kind of get my blood flowing, and then just went at it. But I wasn't able to freeform and just like destroy as I wanted to. I had to actually follow a pattern, so everything that you see me do was carefully mapped out. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good question.
Thank you.
It could be a language barrier thing, but I try not to use the word trick. I more think of it as somebody. I had this conversation the other day. It made me laugh because they were like, I met somebody who found out I was an actor. They were unfamiliar with the show, but they said, "You must be a really good liar, then." And I was like, and I did. It wasn't offensive. They were just kind of making a comment, right? And I was like, you know what? I probably am. I'd rather not find out, but
I am not, for those who ask my wife. I'm awful.
Oh, yeah. For me, it's not about lying. It's about telling the truth. It's just somebody else's truth. So I feel like after 12 plus years of knowing Sam and having spent a lot of time with Sam, I'm able to help him tell his truth and go through what he's going through. And everybody has their own method, but like when I'm acting between action and cut, I've already done the work. Like the reason I'm able to have such a good time on set, and I think it's pretty well known that we all like to horse around on set, is because my work was done months ago. You know, so I'm able to let it swim around in my psychology, I suppose, and then when they call action, I'm able to break into what I'm doing. And I feel like I know Sam pretty well. I've spent a lot of time with the guy. I like him. His hair is so great.
You said gray?
Gray. So yeah, I feel like it's I can see you on the screen. That's where I come from. Simple apples.
I like to use tricks. Call them tricks of the trade.
Pinch myself when I have to cry.
Yeah. It's you know, I'll step on my toe if I've got to get really upset about something. I'll just pinch my side if I've got to. Not pinch and roll, just pinch. No, seriously. I mean, like he said, I'll touch on what he said about being on this. We've known these characters for so long. We've been on this journey with these characters for so long. Maybe in the earlier seasons, or even like the earlier episodes of the series, maybe we had to dive into something personal to get an emotion to use for our character. We don't have to do that anymore. Because we've lived with these characters for so long, we're so close to this story and we're so close to the emotions of what this character. When I watch mine or his performance on the TV and it's an emotional scene, I get emotional because two reasons. One, I remember how I was feeling in that moment, and it touches because you don't forget that when you get emotional about something, your body reacts as though it's real. Your brain knows that it's make believe, but your body is reacting as though it's real. So that kind of leaves a little mark on yourself. So when you see it again for the first time, it kind of touches that again. Also, I love this character. I love these characters. I love this story. I love this relationship between all of these characters. And so if they're going through something, I feel that. And that's kind of what we do, is we just allow the story and allow the emotion of the character to kind of do its thing. And he has a little different kind of prep method than I do. He reads it over and over and over and kind of gets it all down pat before he shows up. I'm more of I just kind of read it the night before so that I the instincts and my immediate thoughts about what I'm reading are fresh, and then I just immediately use that. So it has a very similar end result, but it's a very different preparation, and I can appreciate it both.
Ironically, it's very similar to our characters. I feel like Sam researches and goes intellectual about it and thinks it over, and Dean is more like, instinctual, off the cuff. So it's kind of the yin and the yang, why they make a good team. Thanks, Julia.
I always like to work with Kim Manners, especially what he brought to Supernatural coming from a show like X-Files.
Kim Manners was, for those of you who may not know, most of you probably do, but he was our kind of live-in executive producer / director for the first 4 years of the show. And I would say I could sit here for an hour, a day, a week, and talk about the magnitude of that man, which was funny because he was about this big. But I'll say this very quickly, and I'll let Jared touch on it. He put us on a path to succeed, and we've been continually honoring him in that regard, I think, ever since.
Yeah, he was a force, and Jensen's not kidding. He's 5'3", 5'4", but he was so beloved by everybody. And when we met him, he was a guest director that was coming up for one episode. I think they had begged him to come out of retirement. He had driven up and bought his dog, and on the drive back, they asked him to come back and be a producer. But he walked up onto our set, and he hadn't been to Canada in 5-10 years, and he'd see somebody across the parking lot and be like, "Hey, Dave, how's Debbie? And how's little Sawyer?" Like, he remembered these, like, he truly cared about everybody involved, whether you were the lowliest PA who was just paid by the hour, or the most prestigious writer-director. He treated you like a human being. He didn't treat you any better or worse because of what your job or occupation was, or net worth, or anything. He also was the one who famously told us, I spend more time with you guys than I do my wife, my kids, my dog. So if I'm not having a good time, then what's the point? We're not curing cancer, we're just making a TV show. So I think he really set the tone for why we're still able to go after 13 years, or in our 13th in counting, to have a good time, okay, to enjoy what we're doing and not take ourselves too seriously. We're telling stories we're passionate about, but at the end of the day, we're telling stories. And we have our own community and our family, but there's no point in letting it get you down when you're stressed out. So, rest in peace. If your name really is Heather from Colorado, why did you have to read it off your phone?
I did. I was looking at my phone.
My name is Heather. I'm from Colorado.
Okay, I got your number.
Shoot me a text.
Okay,
blowing me up already.
It's a gift of you.
There it is. It's Heather from Colorado.
I was actually wondering, Jared mentioned earlier the GIF or the meme of the many hairstyles of Sam Winchester, and it kind of had me wondering what GIFs or memes that you send each other or that you like to get.
Oh God. I'll say this. I've said this before.
And you should say it again.
I should say it again. The single best part of being a celebrity is being able to use GIFs of yourself to send to your friends who aren't celebrities. All the other accolades are worth nothing. I've sent the L'Oreal commercial to everybody I know. And there's another one where I'm like, doing something, and I'm like, So most of my, is it GIF or GIF?
Every time you ask that question,
it changes.
It's the same answer. Every time.
It'll develop. What does it stand for? Graphic interface file.
Graphic interface file.
So GIF. Okay, so whenever I say
GIF is peanut butter. And GIF is the little thing on your phone.
My point is, whenever I send a graphic interface file, I try to make sure to, in fact, the other day, Spade texted us about something, and I hit him back with a Trickster graphic interface file, and his response was like, well done, I haven't seen that one. It's fun, so yes, and tons of them.
Now I have a question for some of you tech savvy folks out there. With the GIFs, do they start to learn what you like to use and give you suggestions that are tailored more towards your
Yes.
usage?
Yes.
Have they always done that, or was that since the very beginning? They just started doing that, right? So in the beginning, there was a lot of Supernatural. And I was stoked. And I was thinking like, well, it must be because everybody's using them. They're really popular. This is better than I thought. We're kind of a big deal. And stop calling it GIF.
Graphic interface.
Yes, I will say that Jared and I both get we get a lot of pleasure out of text battling our friends with our own GIFs. It's amazing.
It never ceases to piss them off, which makes it even better.
Oh yeah.
They're like, that's not fair, that's not fair. Like, use your own.
And one of my buddies go, I'm not talking to you anymore. Yeah.
Removing themselves from threads. Yeah. If it's out there, if it's a Sam and or Dean GIF,
He can be taught.
then throw me a fish. I've probably used it.
Awesome.
What's your favorite GIF?
I use a lot the Crowley one that says I torture all my friends, it's how I show love.
What does that say about you? I like it.
Just a single friend.
Text me.
Single friend.
Colorado has my number. I've been listening to here's the thing, classic rock now is like, it's like Nirvana. I'm like, wait a minute. But, so anyway, in my book, classic rock is 60s, 70s rock and roll. Yeah, late 60s, 70s rock and roll. And so I've been listening to that since I was in high school. And I
So basically,
still do.
It was basically,
I named my kid Zeppelin.
Because if you were in high school, in 95, and you were listening to classic rock from, let's say, 1970, then it was music was 25 years old.
Yes, that's
so
my
now
point.
music from like the mid-90s.
The 90s.
Like
Yes.
Crisscross. And like, Who Let the Dogs Out? This classic rock. Honestly.
I like big butts. It's classic rock.
It's just called Baby Got Back, not I Like Big Butts.
Yeah, that was the remix.
I like big butts.
I like big butts.
And the song Baby Got Back.
And then so that's all right.
Yes.
I will say that there would be a lot more music on the show, but music is very expensive these days. In fact, you probably know that we've never had a Led Zeppelin song on the show. We've never had a ZZ Top song on the show. We just recently gotten Metallica. And it wasn't lack for trying. Like, we've been trying to get a Metallica song on our show since day one. And it just recently they were like, those guys are still on the air? All right, they're cool. Then they basically were like, okay, you guys, we showed them the sizzle reel that was cut together that we wanted to put the song to, which was kind of the recap that they do at the beginning of the show. There was a big one that was done for a Comic-Con this past year. And they let us use their music for that, so that was pretty cool.
Which song?
Thank you.
Nothing else
matters.
Hi, and I have a question for both of y'all. How much of your personality have y'all put into your characters of Sam and Dean? And also, has your personalities of Sam and Dean ever came out in different situations?
I have put everything I have into Sam. Honestly. What? Hey. That's too graphic of an interface to tell you. What I'm trying to say is, I've given everything I have to give to my performance as Sam. Indubitably, Sam has taught me a lot, both in watching him persevere, and just literally in the reading and the researching of things we do on Supernatural and my desire to learn more about it. But you change, there hasn't been a constant, you know, like it's difficult to try and think who I would be if Supernatural never existed. So I don't have a way to compare who I would have been with who I am. But with the help from y'all guys and Sam Winchester, I'm reasonably happy with who I'm becoming.
Did you say indubitably?
Indubitably I did.
We've talked about this.
Not in front of my friends.
You're embarrassing me. I would say that, I said this before, in the beginning of the show, there was probably a much closer connection between myself and the character. As the show has gone on through the years, the character has developed into, you know, its own kind of entity. And squirrel! Do you like that one? Don't give me a courtesy laugh. So over the years, I think, you know, there's been a little bit more of a separation, but there is always a base of who I am that Dean was created upon. And yes, there are times in my life when that part that belongs to Dean is still in me, and it comes out sometimes. And or sometimes I just say, you know what would Dean do? And it's helped me through sometimes. Yeah. But it is certainly my most favorite make-believe character I've ever had in my life. It could be like once the TV series kind of comes to an end.
Once y'all stop watching.
Wait. And then we take.
How dare you?
And then we take a few days off and start the feature film. And then after the feature film hits, then we start with the Supernatural redo. Redux.
Like Will and Grace from earlier. So somebody asked this question.
Which one are you in that scenario?
We talked about it earlier, and she goes, like Will and Grace! Will and Grace, I think, just did another TV show. I would love the idea of doing a movie. You know what I would like more, because I think there's so much more to Supernatural than 2 hours, is I would love to do, I don't want to say a mini-series, but like a shortened, like 10 episode, a 10 episode movie kind of situation, where we really delve into it, as opposed to just trying to create a storyline, wrap it all up. So we'll see what happens, and we'll see what the writers and the powers that be sort of allow to happen. I think this is 2 years ago you were there. Mm-hmm. So I think a lot has changed in 2 years, believe it or not, with like Netflix, the way they air shows, the way they're creating shows, and the way you can just kind of jump in onto a show. I think TV, and maybe I'm being biased here, but I think TV has the power to be a lot more powerful than the movie, because it's there, it's with you. And I even mentioned earlier, if we did do a movie, I would still want to not use foul language, just because I feel like we've gone by it. Well, I know a lot of words that are longer than 4 letters, so. So we'll yes, best is a 4-letter word. B-E-S-T. Yeah, we'll see, Jordan. Thanks a bunch, man. Good to see you again.
the last question? It's the very last question. It's the last question. It's the last question. It's the last question. It's the last question.
This is Jan. And her very first words were, "Oh my God, you cannot see anything."
Right, Jen?
Which is true. Wow. She can't see anything. All right, so Jan, this is the very last question. So say hi to your supernatural family out there. And this better be damn good. Just kidding. Whatever. Don't mess it up. Just kidding. Don't mess it up.
Well, it has to do with baby. We all probably know how Dean and Mary feel about the scene where she saw baby again for the first time. How was that for Jensen and Sam to shoot?
For Jensen and Sam? Or Dean and Sam?
Samantha.
Samantha. Oh, I was like, that's a weird. You personally and his character. Okay. Curveball.
High five, Jan.
It was, well, that particular scene took on a bit of a tone that wasn't in the script. It was all
For Dean or Jared?
And it was, I give all credit to Phil, our director. He came up with the idea, and he's like, hey, what if she looked in the back seat and looked at it upon the back seat with these very fond eyes, memories. Dean then catching that going, oh my God. So that was not scripted at all, and when Phil pitched the idea to Samantha and myself, we loved it, and so we ended up doing it. And they used it, and there you go. I think it made it was a nice little nugget there in the scene. Yeah,
Great question, Jan. Question.
That was the last question. That was the last question. That was the last question. That was the last question.